of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the reason I'm asking you to remain standing is that we had an unfortunate tragedy in the county last week. It's devastated a community here in the county, and I wanted to acknowledge that with a moment of silence. I'd like to ask Supervisor Walensky to make a comment.
As everybody knows, Mountain Ranch has been deeply affected by the loss of four of its finest people on Mountain Ranch Road accident last Sunday, a week ago, Sunday, March 1st. We have lost Trenton Montgomery, age 16, Sky Montgomery, age 17, Kaylee Montgomery, 22, Jeremy Peters, 34. This is something that is just beyond even being able to get our heads around. These are very well-respected, popular kids. All of Calaveras High is in deep mourning, as is the town of Mountain Ranch, as is the county of Calaveras. We'd like to take a moment of silence to remember them all.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, at this time I'd like to read the announcements concerning the meeting last week. Closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 B1, a conference with legal counsel and to anticipated litigation, significant litigation, exposure to litigation in one case. The County Council continued this to this week, March 10th. A closed session was held on March 3rd, 2009 with the County Council and Human Resources pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation with SEIU versus the County of Calaveras Public Employment Relations Board, charge number SACE-552-M, with no action taken in that matter. Okay, now going to the back to the agenda. We have a consent calendar to consider now. We have 3 items on the consent calendar this morning. We have the minutes of the last board meeting. We have correspondence and a resolution to proclaim March 2009 as American Red Cross Month. The items on this consent calendar are normally approved without discussion, but if anybody from the audience would like to take an item off, we can do that at this time. A member of the board could also exercise that privilege. Do I hear any comments or motions?
I'm going to be abstaining from item 1.
Okay.
I was not here.
All right.
I'll move the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approving the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We have 4 for the motion and 1 abstention. Okay. The calendar says 9:10 for public comments. I'm going to take a prerogative of beginning in on public comments and reminding people that there is a 5-minute limit per topic or per person and 15 minutes per topic. So at this time, can we have people come for public comments? Please identify yourself.
morning. My name is Cynthia Sanchez. This is concerning the accidents that are continuing to happen, continuing to occur on Mountain Ranch Road. On July 22nd, 2008, Bob Woods told you at that board meeting that we would track the accidents that will continue to happen in the curvy sections of this road, and that we would be back in a year or two. It has only been 7 months. He stated that the accidents would happen in every section of the road except the proposed project area, because those are the problem areas. He told you that eventually there would be fatalities because the county is not fixing the problem where the problem areas are. So here we are. The date of January 11th, 2007 was officially the first public meeting that Public Works held to hear recommendations and suggestions from the public as to what we felt were safety improvements for this mountainous road, since we drive the road daily. The public recommended lower speed. 45 miles an hour was the general consensus as for the conditions of this road. The public recommended shoulder upgrades and improvements because there are no shoulders on this road. Curve mitigation, guardrails, and rumble strips were recommended, focusing on the problem areas of the road where the accidents occur. Every single one of our recommendations was completely ignored by Public Works. We don't understand why. Public Works proceeded with a grant application for a passing lane in an accident-free section of the road. We never recommended a passing lane. When questioned by the public as to why this project and its location, Public Works stated they own the frontage property. It would be a quick and easy job. By spending the money, it would put them in a good position to obtain future funding. This project would eliminate the accidents that are happening on the rest of the road. Those 4 statements don't make sense. These reasons don't address the problem areas of the road where the accidents are happening. Reduced speed and shoulders on this road were the 2 most important improvement recommendations by the public. John Pargetz stated that at one of the public meetings, shoulders received 100% response from the public. You never get 100%, ever. Nobody agrees, but we did on that. Now that's a mandate, but Public Works completely ignored that mandate. The public wanted 45-mile-an-hour speed limit signs because Mountain Ranch Road has 10-foot wide lanes, no shoulders, and lots of numerous curves. You add a speed over 45 miles per hour and you have a real problem. This road has no forgiveness. Rob Houghton stated that unmarked rural roads are 55 miles per hour. This is true. He also stated that the speed limit could not be changed. This is not true. Public Works has the capability of making this change. I'm going to cite the California Vehicle Code, Section 22358. Whenever a local authority determines upon the basis of an engineering and traffic survey that the limit of 55 miles per hour is more than reasonable or safe upon any portion of any street or road other than a state highway where the limit of 55 miles per hour is applicable, the local authority may by ordinance determine and declare a prima facie speed limit of 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, or 25 miles per hour, whichever is found most appropriate to facilitate the orderly movement of traffic and is reasonable and safe, which declared prima facie limit shall be effective when appropriate signs giving notice thereof are erected upon the street or road. Common sense tells us that 55 miles an hour is suicidal for this road. Public Works posted those 55-mile-an-hour speed limit signs on December 11th, 2007. We know this because we had a meeting with Public Works. Posting this speed limit of 55 miles per hour gives the driver the false impression that they can actually drive this road at 55 miles per hour safely. You can't. It falsely encourages people to drive 55 miles per hour. In our opinion, we believe that the loss of a single human life is worth reducing the speed to 45 miles an hour, knowing that Public Works has the capability of doing this. See for yourself. Every one of you should get in your vehicle and drive up and down Mountain Ranch Road at 55 miles an hour. It's impossible, but I can tell you, you are in for the ride of your life. And remember, Mountain Ranch Road extends another 3 miles above the town of Mountain Ranch, and there have been fatalities up there as well. Since Public Works installed...
Excuse me, Cynthia, I don't want to appear to be insensitive about what you're talking about, but in fairness to other people that want to talk, you're over the 5 minutes. I'll let you make your closing comments.
Okay.
Apologize.
I would like to say the 4 young lives that were lost on Mountain Ranch Road, they have lost their time forever. I would like to request their 5 minutes to finish what I have to say, because this is very, very important. The people need to hear this. I know it's difficult to hear, but you need to hear this. Please.
Chairman Thomas, let me suggest that we take a 15-minute timeline for a subject, because this is an expression of a number of people, that we use that as our time frame to support that.
Okay.
May I make a comment? When Public Works is up here and we had our time on July 22nd to talk, they weren't timed. I feel that this needs to be heard. Isn't it worth listening for maybe another 15 minutes to give respect to these people? All it is 15 minutes out of your lifetime. That's it. That's all I'm asking. I think that...
Yes, the chair has the latitude to do that, and I want to point out that we appear to have a gentleman from the CHP that might be able to shed some light on the official way that speed limit determination or the recommendation for changing it, that it must be done in a prescribed manner or in a prescribed manner, and I've been involved in other instances where that's been successfully accomplished, but please continue.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. I'll read faster. Since Public Works installed the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit signs on Mountain Ranch Road, the number of accidents per year has increased by more than 60%. Prior to the posting of 55 miles per hour, the number of accidents on this road were 11 per year. The number of accidents for 2008 were 18. Just this year alone, 2009, there has been 6 accidents on Mountain Ranch Road, all in Section 5. The last accident on March 1st took the lives of 4 young people. These people were a part of everybody's life. Even if we didn't know these people, we would still be here today for the safety of that road and for the safety of the people. We're not using this accident as a platform for the proposed project area. We are presenting the facts and statistics. Accidents will continue to happen in the curvy sections of this road. David Studley stated to put a passing lane turnout in the middle of the 2 most dangerous sections of this road will not enhance safety, but will promote increased speeds. Paulette Trujillo stated, please don't let us become an accident statistic where there are none. For the year and a half that we were conversing with Public Works, we recommended that the money the county acquired from the grant be redirected to the problem areas. We have always been in favor of road improvements where the accidents are happening. The driveway in the middle of the project area is an excavating business. Truck and trailer vehicles use this driveway. Safety should be number 1. Tim Schlenz stated not only is speed contributing factor in accidents, This same driveway has a well-established bus stop for over 48 years. We're putting our children at risk. John Parget's driveway, which is on the other side of the road just below this one, stated years of experience dictates that people will use that 8-foot wide shoulder on the downhill side to pass vehicles sitting in the road to turn in their driveways. They do it at Lower Michael. This creates a very dangerous situation because you have a 6-foot retaining block wall next to that 8-foot shoulder. Steve Walensky stated that he was getting a lot of pressure from the people who live in Sheep Ranch, Railroad Flat, and West Point to move forward on this project because it takes them so long to get to and from work. You choose where you live, you choose where you work. You can't blame the road. Putting a turnout in and passing 1 or 2 vehicles is going to save you what, 5 seconds? Is the loss of a single human life worth 5 seconds? We reviewed the grant application. The grant had 4 false statements on it. The county was stating that construction of a passing lane resonated with the residents and generated enthusiasm. We recommended shoulders and lower speeds. A passing lane does not equal shoulders and lower speeds. The second incorrect statement was currently no passing opportunities are available on Mountain Ranch Road. That's not true. A half a mile just west of the proposed project area, there are 8-foot shoulders on both sides of the road. People use these as turnouts. It's only half a mile away. 1 mile up the road, there is passing capabilities in both directions on a quarter-mile section of the road. It is the straightest section of the road. We don't believe that making these false statements and not focusing on the real problem areas of the road where the accidents are happening is more important than the loss of a single human life. The third false statement, County Public Works said that based on review of Switter's fatality, that the major collector parallels the national average. However, the half-mile segment of road that they want to use exceeds the national average by an order of magnitude. This is not true. There have been no accidents in that proposed site for 9 years. If you have no accidents, you have no fatalities. We don't understand why these false statements were put on the grant. We don't understand why the money isn't being directed where the accidents are happening. We, the people, recorded the accidents that were happening on this road. We took the same years the county was using. We even pulled the CHP report and documented all the accidents on this road. We divided the road into 8 sections. The accidents are happening. The majority of the accidents are happening in Section 5. Section 4 is from Willow Creek to Rocky Road. Section 5 is from Rocky Road to Michael Road. Those are the 2 worst areas of the road. The money needs to be directed there. We have been addressing our concerns, our recommendations, and suggestions to the county for a year and a half. We have been pleading for action to be taken where these accidents are happening. We've been completely ignored. We don't understand why. It doesn't make sense. The county is moving forward with their agenda and not addressing the accidents and where they're happening. This road needs lower speeds. This road needs shoulders. Throughout our meetings with Public Works, they kept telling us that they were acting in good faith. Good faith is not ignoring the public's recommendations. Good faith is not falsifying a grant application. Good faith is focusing on the areas where the accidents are occurring. This tragic accident has only reinforced our desire to make this road safer. At the board meeting, Jonathan Mitchell, senior engineer of Capital Project Section, cited from 4 different academies, Fitzpatrick, KK Bulk, I'm not going to name them all, that the use of turnouts decrease the total collision rate by 30%, and there's a 40% decrease in fatalities with the use of turnouts. That's wonderful. Turnouts are installed where accidents are happening. The project area does not have accidents. The accidents and fatalities are happening more than a half a mile away below the project area. That is the worst section of the road. These statistics of safety of turnouts may very well fit on normal roads or state roads and where accidents are happening. Mountain Ranch Road is not a normal road. I have to give an analogy here. If it's not broken, don't fix it. My washer and dryer broke, but I call the appliance repair guy out and I have him work on my refrigerator. It doesn't make sense. Put the money where the problem is. Ron Mobley stated we couldn't install rumble strips because we have no shoulders. We know that. We've been fighting for shoulders for 2 years. Michael Miller stated that shoulder upgrades and improvements would require additional acquisition of right-of-way, and that to elevate the shoulders would require more than base rock. Bob Woods rebutted Michael Miller's statement. The county has prescriptive easement rights. They have had these rights since 1948. The county owns 25 feet from the center line in both directions for road improvements and upgrades. If each lane is 10 feet wide, the county owns another 15 feet from the white line for improvements. Michael Miller further stated that eminent domain holds up projects. It detains them. The county has never approached the property owners along the entire length of this road to discuss shoulder upgrades and improvements and possible frontage property usage. There are numerous places on this road that shoulder upgrades and improvements could be done well within the 15-foot prescriptive easement rights. Public Works states that it would take hundreds of millions of dollars to put shoulders on this road. We don't care. If the road needs shoulders, you start in the worst problem areas first, and then you work to the next problem area, and so on. You don't ignore the problem. There are many local contractors out there today willing to put shoulders on this road. They are willing to do the work for free, because the county is not doing what the public is requesting. Michael Miller, he doesn't travel this road anymore. He's only traveled it twice. He takes the long way around to Arnold. I wonder why he doesn't travel Mountain Ranch Road. Mike Falvey said this project needs to be shelved until each board member has sufficient time to review the statistics and make an educated vote. Those statistics show where the accidents are happening. At the close of the public comments, each board member spoke. Marita compared this project with the turnout on Highway 49. Highway 49 is a state highway. Highway 4, with the project on Highway 4. Highway 4 is a state highway. Highway 4 has 12-foot wide lanes. Mountain Ranch Road has 10-foot wide lanes. Highway 4 has shoulders. Mountain Ranch has none. Highway 4 gets more traffic than Mountain Ranch Road and is a steeper grade. Highway 4 is not as curvy as Mountain Ranch Road. Highway 4 doesn't have tight curves at both ends of the turnout, and Highway 4 is an uphill turnout only, not a downhill. You can't compare the two. She also stated that she wanted to compare this with the project on Highway 49. Highway 49, state highway, has 12-foot wide lanes. It gets more traffic than Mountain Ranch Road. It's not as curvy, and Highway 49 does not have the tight curves at either end of the turnouts. You can't compare these. All our turnouts and passing lanes are on state roads. Kurt Thomas stated that studying this proposal further and looking at the site location, he felt wouldn't make a difference. He stated that Wally Motlock is an expert because he's been driving the road for 30 years. Wally Motlock is a resident of Mountain Ranch. He didn't present any statistics. There are some of us that have been driving this road for over 50 years. Our facts and statistics mean nothing. They should mean something. Bill Claudino stated even though all the concerns are valid, he's in support of the project. Bill Claudino is not here. Tom Tryon stated he's not a fan of turnouts but supports anything we can do to get money into the county. Getting money into the county is a great thing. Acquiring the money based on 4 false statements on a grant application for a project that will do nothing to improve the safety for this road does fall in the category of anything. We have never, ever been against spending the money where the accidents are happening. Steve Walensky uses the Monty Python analogy that the county could never reach an agreement with the property owners directly involved in the project area. This is not true. Steve said that the county kept changing the design to accommodate the people. The date, September 20th, 2007, at Public Works, all the people involved in the project area agreed on an uphill turnout between Lucky Jim Mine Road and John Parget's driveway, with encroachments, improvements to Lucky Jim Mine Road, simply shading the banks down on either side of the encroachment so the vehicles entering the driveway from the Mountain Ranch side could ease off the road rather than practically stopping in the middle of the road to make that hard right turn. We told them that we did not want a downhill turnout, as there is no need for one. People fly down this hill. But once you install that downhill, then they put in an 8-foot shoulder, extending the entire length of the project, and then they had to add 3 retaining block walls 6 feet in height. How is their proposal? They told us when they came back in December and stated our recommendations were too expensive. They stated that they would have to go 300 feet back into the encroachment of Lucky Jim to improve this. That's unbelievable. Their project of an uphill turnout, crossing a driveway, a downhill turnout, an 8-foot shoulder practically extending the length of this project, and 3 retaining block walls, that's cheaper? That's less expensive than we proposed? Our proposal was for safety. Public Works and the board have an obligation to the people. You are not following your mission statement. John Parget stated that you are to preserve the quality of life. We look to you for assistance. We have a real problem. The county is only looking at the money. John Parget stated sometimes the seduction of free money overrides logic. The county is not listening to the public. County is ignoring the facts and statistics where the accidents are happening. They're ignoring the 400 signature petition against this project, but in agreeing to spend the money where the accidents are happening. County is not addressing the real problem. All this at the cost of people's lives. As of July 22nd, we put the county on notice. We told you accidents will continue to happen in the problem areas. The problem areas need to be fixed. By ignoring the problem areas on this road, more accidents are happening and people are dying. You cannot sit there and ignore this problem. How many more lives have to be lost on this road before the county opens up their eyes and admits that the money for Mountain Ranch Road has to be spent in the problem areas? The county is proceeding with the project. That's fine. Paulette Trujillo stated that after this project is in, it will forever stand as an asphalt monument to red tape and waste. Don't make us say, we told you so. After this project is in and accidents continue to happen in the problem areas, we the people will be back again and again and again until something is finally done to make this road safer where the accidents are happening. The loss of one human life is more important than spending the money for the sake of spending the money to obtain future funding. The loss of one human life is more important than a quick and easy job that will do nothing to improve the problem areas of the road. The loss of one human life is more important than the county's ownership of frontage property. We hope, we pray, we plead that the loss of these 4 young lives is a wake-up call. Someone has to come to this podium and speak. No one likes to do it. Some can't do it. I'm here because I can do it. We are here for the safety of the people. It's not me. It's the public. We know all too well how people who stand up and speak on behalf of the people put themselves in the spotlight and then are retaliated against and threatened. I believe this is being televised. Let it go on record today. I have already been threatened. I don't appreciate that. I don't feel that standing up for the safety of the people deserves threatening our home and our property. As you lay your head on your pillow tonight, we want you to remember Jeremy Peters, 34 years old, single father of 2 children. We want you to remember Kelly Montgomery, 22 years old, fiance to Jeremy, and college student. We want you to remember Sky Montgomery, 17 years old, student at Calaveras High School. And we want you to remember Trenton Montgomery, 16 years old, student at Calaveras High School. If any of the aforementioned improvements that the public recommended would make the road safer, could prevent an accident from happening, and possibly save a human life, the county must pursue those recommendations. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments, Cynthia. I'm very sympathetic to your problem. I'm shocked that somebody would. I'm shocked that somebody would be threatening you. I remember your presentation that you made here before. It was brilliantly done. And, anyway, thanks for coming. You did, however, go way over your time. So.
It's just 15, 20 minutes in your life.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Nice. Anybody else wishing to make a comment on this subject?
Yes.
Yes. What's your name, please?
Hello, I'm Tim Schlentz. I live in the same area, this road.
What is your name again?
Tim Schlentz. I'm very well aware of the problems on this road, and it's really hard to see these tragedies happen over and over again. And it really hurts me to see that there's money going to be spent to actually increase the hazard of this area instead of improving the problems of this road. It is a hazardous road, and there can be improvements on it. The project that has been approved by the board will only increase the problems of this road. It's not going to help them. That really concerns me, because I'd like to see the money spent to help the road rather than to increase the hazards of the road. That's your job, is to distribute the money in a well-fashioned way rather than to increase the hazard. It would really sadden me to see more deaths, accidents, tragedies happen because of ill-spent money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tammy. And until Saturday, we went to Jeremy's funeral. I did not realize that this was an issue and had been for years. And for years there was no speed limit posted, and I finally called when my first child started driving, because I kept telling him it was 35 and he told me I was crazy. And I noticed a couple years ago the speed limit signs just went up. And the only reason I'm here today is because I saw Cynthia at the funeral Saturday. And for years my kids got mad at me because I drive that road too slow. So I'm really glad that this has been going on, because I didn't know about it. And I just want you to really, I didn't know anything about it, and we just came down. And I have no statistics. I have nothing I can say to make my babies come back. Just I really need you guys to really take a hard look at this, because I've always told my kids that 55 is just not safe. So I need you to really look into this. And I'm really glad this had to happen today, because we didn't know that this had been going on. So I want to thank you for listening.
Hi, Rosemary.
Hi.
My name is Rosemary Wilson. I living right now in McCullum Hill, but I do own property on the high-end portion of Mountain Ranch Road near Sheep Ranch Road, where there have been multiple accidents running into my bank. Someone got killed on a motorcycle. It's a bad situation. I've noticed, and I'm not sure whether it's been 2 years. It surprised me if it has, but I've noticed recently going up the road that there are relatively new 55-mile-an-hour speed limit signs, maybe 3 or more of them, along Mountain Ranch Road down to the bottom of Highway 49. And to my mind, that is just advertising and sort of making it permissible for people who may not be aware of the potential harm on that road in driving 55 miles an hour. There are portions where, small portions, I think the portions where the passing lane or the turnout was is planned for, where you can go 55 miles an hour for less than a minute. I mean, it's a short distance. But to have 55-mile-an-hour signs posted there, the speed limit actually posted, can be interpreted by some as almost an invitation to drive at that limit, and it's just not safe to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good morning. My name's Frank Ginger, and I'd like to know what you guys are going to do about the buses. They're blocking. I gave Angels Camp 32 pictures. That's separate pictures of blocking. They don't block me no more. They quit when they see my orange truck, because you know what? I don't care no more. But I called the Angels Camp Police Department to have one of the buses cited for the buses are too long for those banned parking spots. And when I went to have them get a ticket, they got a blue sticker now. I was always told that the blue sticker, you had to be handicapped to own the sticker. Now, just because the bus gives rides to handicap, that's no reason for them to own that. So they're actually illegally owning that blue sticker. That's the only reason why he didn't get a ticket. But I'm looking, and every time I see one, I'm going to call the Angels Camp Police Department and get them ticketed now. Every single one of them. The only difference is I'm going to look for the blue sticker now that they've got them. But that bus doesn't fit. Somebody's going to get hurt. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ginger. Anyone else wishing to address the board on an item not on the agenda this morning?
Good morning. Brian Moss, Environmental Management. A couple of quick updates for the board this morning. First one I'd like to discuss is a proposal for a septic receiving facility for Calaveras County. This is a topic that we revisit every now and again, and we have for several years. The bottom line is the board and everybody else is aware of the fact that potential stimulus monies coming to the states. Recently, and over the last month or two, we've had a septic receiving facility committee that's consisted of Russ Thomas, myself, Director Davidson, and Bill Purley to discuss the possibility of the district applying for what are called state revolving fund money, some of that stimulus money, if you will, to develop a septic receiving facility. This is a very positive step for the county, and certainly we support that. We recently received a memorandum of understanding proposal from the district, and in that proposal was a request for a county share of up to $10,000. I responded to that request and essentially stated that, we are very much interested in seeing this project go forward. However, we don't have that in our current budget to consider, at least at this stage of the game, and that we actually encourage the district to move forward, and of course our committee to continue to explore the possibility of looking for monies, and that we would look at, we bring it back to the board for consideration at a later date once we get further down the track. So with that said, I'm in receipt of an agenda item that will be heard at CCWD on the 11th. And that agenda item is essentially stating what I just shared with you. And as part of that, the district is considering, or at least recommending, that they not move forward at this time. That's not our desire. That's not what we've encouraged. But I wanted to share that with the board so that everybody would be on the same page. And I will pass this out just for board review. It includes my letter as well in there of February 19th in response to the MOU. This is something that I did work with administrative office on, and of course ran by Russ Thomas as well, who sits on our committee. So this is just kind of a heads up for the board. And are there any questions regarding that?
Maria, go ahead.
Brian, what happened to the proposed agreement with Amador County?
Amador County is still taking some of our septage, as you know. That agreement that we talked about with their board several years ago never went through. But what did happen is Dean Travascas of Sweet Pea Septic actually did develop a septic receiving facility over there. So part of the septic that's generated in Calaveras County goes to Amador. A little bit goes to Tuolumne, as allowed by the Tuolumne Utilities District, and the remainder goes to East Bay Mud in the Bay Area.
Okay, just to kind of get the board up to speed on the meetings that we had, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but all the discussions that I can recall are talking about developing the cost proposal, the methodology, the location, everything, that I was under the understanding that from representations that Mr. Purley gave us, that he felt confident that he and his staff could develop the design and work up the costs for this system in-house, that there he wouldn't have to go outside. So I was quite surprised to see the letter from CCWD, from Dave Andrus, more or less saying if we're going to go forward, the county has to pony up $10,000 right now. So that's why I encouraged Brian to write the letter that he wrote. But I think that I will intend to go to this meeting tomorrow and see how it's discussed, and essentially reiterate the comments that I just made, that we never discussed the necessity for the county to make a $10,000 contribution to this effort at this point. So are there any other questions?
My comments, Brian, is in my conversation with I guess one or two CCWD board members, it was my understanding that they were going to try to develop a septic receiving facility at one of their current wastewater plants. And they were going to do this as a unilateral project of CCWD. And I am very supportive of that. I've always felt that CCWD should do that. I mean, the county is not in charge of solid waste, or what I want to say, sewer and water, etc. And to me, this is basically sewer. So I'm concerned when you say in here that the district, meaning CCWD, has no responsibility for septic disposal. Oh, this is from, excuse me, I thought this was your letter. Oh, excuse me, okay. I'm not for the county putting money into the project, because I agree, we don't have the money, but I am for CCWD proceeding, because I think this falls within their realm of responsibility, and it does not fall within the county's realm of responsibility. If the county can sort of be helpful in other ways than money, then I'm certainly for being helpful in other ways than money. But I think we do need a facility, and I think that is appropriately a charge for CCWD. Excuse me, I always think I read this first one thinking it was from you. Sorry.
The last page is from me.
Last page. This is your letter. Oh. Okay.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you, Brian.
I would like to thank you, and I'd like to move on to air pollution very quickly here. I have Lockmere Graywall, of course, here this morning as well. One of the requirements that the Air District is looking at is what is called enhanced vapor recovery, and I won't get into the whys, wheres, and what force of that. That's something that Lockmere can address. But this requires upgrades at gas stations, and one of the concerns we have is some gas stations have already done their upgrades, and the deadline, by the way, is April 1 of this current year. Some of those companies have done the upgrades. Others are in line to get those upgrades done, and yet others, Lockmere can address as to where they're at. But Dale Boyett of Boyett Petroleum is going to be here this morning. Requested that this be shared with the board. He's essentially is stating that he's stating we have completed the very expensive EVR upgrades at our sites as required by law by April 1 of 2009. What concerns me is that several stations have not completed the work and will be operating with unfair business practices and not within the law. The California Air Resources Control Board, and when you see CARB on your copy that I'll give you, that's what that is, has laid out some guidelines for extensions which seem reasonable as long as the timetable for these stations is short and they complete the upgrade. And that makes sense to us as a local district as well. He goes on to state, my concern is sites that can't meet the EVR requirements. They need to be shut down to avoid unfair business practices and to make sure that all operating gas stations are complying with the law, which is supposed to reduce air pollution. With that said, I am going to ask Lockmere to actually address the any technical questions that the board may have regarding this requirement and how the district actually proposes to move forward. I can tell you we will be moving forward with the regulations. We will be working with the gas station owners on getting them upgraded in a timely manner as allowed for by the Air Resources Control Board. But with that, if there's any questions for Lockmere, he's here today.
I thought we had that nozzle replacement program that we did, and that was supposed to
There are actually a couple of phases.
So where?
Yeah, there's actually a couple of phases.
I guess I'm be asking technically in English so I could understand.
Right.
And what kind of costs is that to the station owners in the approximate range? Thank you.
Good morning, Lockmere Graywall, Air Pollution Control Officer. The cost is running from $15,000 to $20,000 for every station. And that's an average station. And some of the stations have to pay about $50,000.
So what did they have to do?
This is the latest upgrade which has been addressed by the Air Resources Board. They have to do, and what this upgrade does is that...
Could you speak into the mic?
This is the latest upgrade they have to do pursuant to the state law to recover the vapors from the fueling of the vehicles on their stations.
And what did you say the cost was per nozzle?
Average cost is about 15 to 20,000, not per nozzle, for the whole station.
For the whole station?
For the whole station, it's $15,000 to $20,000. For the larger stations, it's up to $50,000.
Okay, Lochner, I've noticed around the county that there's been these large cylindrical, vertical things, you know, that are close to the pumps. It's a vacuum system or something that they pull the vapors through and filter.
That's the part of the upgrade, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
That is the latest technology the Air Resources Board is requiring, and sometimes they are upright, sometimes they are horizontal. Some of those cylinders have a lot of bladders in them, and during the night the vapors which are pressurized into the bladders are sucked back into the underground tanks. During the day, when the temperatures are high, all those vapors are pumped into those tanks.
I see. Okay, and Mr. Boyette's letter obviously is kind of raising his hand and saying, I've complied with it. I expect all other operators to comply.
He's saying that there are petroleum people who are concerned about it, and they are thinking about filing the lawsuits all over the state for providing some of the people unfair competition where they are not required to install. Our policy in this district is that we will proceed with appropriate action, and we have not defined that appropriate action because some of the stations, if I send them letters right now install, they are ready to shut down.
Lochner, usually we do the inspections, correct? Normally in the past we've tried to work with the station owners or whomever's impacted by these. Isn't there something that we can do in this case to work with them? Has sort of been our modus operandi in the past.
In this case, the industry is taking charge because they say that they have especially larger stations, and the larger stations like Chevron, Mobil Oil, or some of the stations, they are saying that why aren't you installing? I mean, their intention is to shut down smaller stations.
But isn't there something we can do to help those smaller stations?
I'm trying to give them.
Plan?
I'm trying to give them as much time as within the authority for the Air Pollution Control District is, but at the same time, the other problem which I am facing with is if somebody is telling the district that you are providing unfair business competition to somebody else, so we will be issuing a notice of violation. What that notice of violation will include at this point, I've yet to discuss with the county council.
Supervisor Walensky, do you have a comment?
Yeah, just as a basic comment on the subject, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that this appears to be an effort by relatively large operations to put out independents and smaller operations. So when people raise the issue of unfair competition, there's a certain amount of irony to that. That said, I think that we have to do more than simply wait for the deadline and hope that something gets done. And if there's a proactive element to this, it would seem to me to talk to individual independent stations that are not able to comply for financial reasons and see whether there's some form of funding, particularly small business loans, which I know credit is not exactly easy at the moment, but wherever there would be funds, I think it would be something we could do to try to identify those funding streams and see whether we can put people on an affordable path to compliance. I really don't see it in the public interest for the sharks of the petroleum world to be gobbling up our small businesses here. It's not helpful at all.
Any other comments?
Do we have a number of stations in the county that are not in compliance right now?
We have approximately 37 stations which are under permit. Half of them have complied with the law right now, and the other, I would say about 3 or 4 would be able to, and the rest of them are trying to submit their applications. but to submit the applications, they need to specify the system, and some of the systems are outrageous because now they say the deadline is there, so you're going to buy it at the price we are willing to sell.
Right. Yes. It requires findings.
All right, any other questions of Lochner?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions of me? I would just state that we will work with the community as allowed for by the Air Resources Control Board, something that Rita was actually touching on there. So within the confines of the law and what we're allowed to do, we will be taking that forward.
Okay, on another subject, Brian.
Does that include assisting people to find forms of financing and methods of compliance, payment plans, the kinds of graduated financing that small businesses could manage? I hate to see. It's almost like building a dam in front of a salmon spawning thing. You know, if you don't find a ladder up to it, then there's going to be a whole lot that don't make it. And I think that we've kind of created one of those moments for some of our small businesses at exactly the time where the public in general doesn't need higher gas prices based on an increased monopolization of the business, and where Calaveras tends to have, for rural counties, pretty decent prices. I think the reason is that we have independence here. And I'm worried that not just for the businesses themselves and the economy it brings, but for the people of this county, we really ought to be taking a very proactive effort.
I think there's two issues here. Number one, you're talking about a state mandate, and that's something that we don't have control over. What we do have control over is how we implement that mandate and how we assist people in maybe seeking, like you're saying, outside funds, whether they be grant funds like we were talking about with the CCWD issue. Those are state revolving fund loans. That's a different animal, and that's a different pot. But if there are funds, and Lochner has led me to believe that there may be, I know that we will be working with the community to at least help them apply or guide them and direct them as to where they can look for resources. That's kind of been the history of the agency, and we certainly, as far as assisting businesses to achieve compliance, and we certainly will continue to do that.
Okay, I would encourage you to pursue those areas. If we could help people, that would be wonderful. Any other questions on that? I just have one question about yesterday's activities. We attended a career fair at the Calaveras High School. Supervisor Walensky, Toffanelli, and Thomas, we were the trim trio. No, perhaps not, but anyway, we were hoping to talk to young people about careers in government and careers in farming and construction and everything, but we saw very few kids. They were all going to Brian's shop over there. You had them standing 3 deep at times. I was really quite pleased to see that. And apparently there's a huge interest in our youngsters in careers in environmental, in the area of environmental control, not controls necessarily, but protecting the environment. Can you kind of elaborate on some of the comments that were made there?
Well, actually, that was a great opportunity, and anytime we have an opportunity to push our trade, if you will, and tell the public why it's valid, we do that. Really exciting to go out and speak with the children, and it was kind of interesting because Jason Bates or myself were manning the booth, and if children would come along or kids would come along, our first question was, are you interested in science? And so some of them would give us the, get away from me look, and others would come up and say, yes, I'm a science nerd or whatever. You're our person. Come talk to us. So I would say that we probably made out of the entire day, there were probably up to about a dozen people that were really, really interested in pursuing a college degree in the sciences with a look at environmental health. And I think that's a good thing. We from an environmental health standpoint, we really have to push this. There's a lot of people that are retiring out of the profession. And so this is absolutely the best place to actually plant that seed. I think we're going to be doing some work at Bret Harte as well shortly. So I thought it was very positive, and I know I got home last night and I told my wife, I said, how refreshing to be around young minds and young people and people who are very idealistic. It was quite refreshing and a lot of fun. So we will certainly do that again. And yes, we're a little shameless with our booth, but anything to pull them into the trade, if you will.
Well, not to say that your booth wasn't very attractive, but the truth of the matter is that right next to us was the Ag Department's booth, which featured 2 boxes of dead bugs, which outdrew us by about 100 to 1. So I'm not sure what that says about government and the feelings people have about it, but I think it pretty much sums it up.
The frustration there is those bugs really should have been with us because it's part of the agency, but Calaveras High decided to put all the medical and health stuff together, and that kind of makes sense. But I was telling our Ag Department, I said, boy, you guys should be over with us. I mean, if we might have been able to pull one more person in with those bugs. So
we didn't even get any overflow from the bugs. They went to the other side of the booth. But I think it did help when Brian you guys set up your booth over there, and you flipped the switch and the lights dimmed around the gym, and then your display came on. I think was great.
Thank you.
Good display.
We'll do it again.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Callaway has just pointed out to me, we do have other comments, I'm sure, for things that are not on the agenda, but do we have somebody from planning here? Can you clarify whether item 6 are we going to be hearing item 6 today, or has it been postponed?
Shaylin Stratton, Planning. Good morning, Supervisors. At this point, the applicant had requested an additional 2-week continuance to continue his work in resolving issues with Public Works. Although it's not expected that those discussions will result in a change in the staff's recommendation for denial, it would allow the applicant the time to determine if the project is viable and to withdraw their application prior to any board action if that was necessary. Also, Public Works has received additional letters from the applicant and would appreciate the time to review and respond to that correspondence from Mr. Barksdale and the other property owners before they come to the board. However, he has only asked for 2 weeks. Staff is actually recommending a 4-week continuance, which should give them sufficient time to resolve any outstanding issues, and we're also recommending that the board deny any further requests beyond that 4-week extension. There's a number of people that are here that are interested in commenting on the project, and I would like to avoid having them come again in 2 weeks, again, to find another request. So the recommendations to the board would be to allow an additional 4-week continuance of this and then deny any further continuances beyond that point.
Okay, your recommendation is for 4 weeks. Supervisor Toffanelli, do you have any comment on this?
I'm open to that, entertaining that.
You want to make a motion?
I move that we postpone it for 4 weeks with no further delays after that. It comes before this board in 4 weeks.
Second.
Pardon me, as a question of procedure,
Yeah.
aren't we still on item
We are.
4, and can we entertain a motion on item 6?
It's all under the same time frame. The chair can go anything
I
under the
just
time.
asked because I know there's people here waiting to
Yeah,
discuss
no,
item
you can take the motion. It's under the same timeline.
Okay, it's unusual to jump forward in the agenda, but I do see people out there that apparently are here for this item, so that you don't have to continue to stay here. We'd love to have you stay, but if you don't wish to, I am going to act on this motion. We have a motion and a second. Is that Tom made the motion? We have a second.
Gary made the motion. I was the second.
Okay, to continue this until 4 weeks
That would
from
be
now?
April 14th.
April 14th. Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes on a 5-0. And I apologize for the confusion here. I didn't realize that it had that we were going to acknowledge the continuance. All right, continuing again with the public comments. We have Mr. McSorley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Tim McSorley, Council of Governments. Real briefly, I just want to give you an update on a couple of projects that we're working on. The comment and review phase of the San Andreas plan is underway. Tomorrow evening, we will be holding a public forum in Town Hall at 6 o'clock on that project. On Thursday evening, we will be convening the Stakeholders Advisory Group on the Village Springs project that we're working on. And then finally, I wanted to give you an update on the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, commonly referred to as the stimulus that's going on. It appears that the preferred targets, if you will, for Calaveras and the transportation side of the house is $159 million in transportation enhancement funds, $2.26 million in what's called the STIP, or State Transportation Improvement Program funds, and then about $927 million in the what's called the STP funds, or the Surface Transportation Program funds. So we're looking at a good chunk of money coming to Calaveras for various projects. I'm working with Public Works, developing that list to submit. We hope to have that submission a little bit later today. And I wanted to address one issue that Supervisor Tryon brought up at the Council of Governments meeting last week relative to a particular road, Bar 20 Road. And I'm sorry to say that that is not eligible because it does not fall under the classification of roadways that are eligible for the fund. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them for me.
Does Pettinger Road fall under the guidelines?
If I recall, Pettinger is a major collector, but I'm not sure if it is being proposed as being put on the list. I haven't seen the final list from Public Works. Perhaps maybe able to answer that question better.
One question, Tim, that I'd like to have you check into if you can. I'm not even sure that it's in your purview, but there's a development called Olive Orchard Estates that I know that more part of the mitigation measures for the entitlements on that project was improvements on Olive Orchard Road, and I think that they posted bonds for that, but is there a time? Is the time running out on those bonds? Or
again, I have to defer that to Public Works. That's really outside of my area of expertise at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you.
Mr. Cornish, welcome.
Morning, Larry.
Larry Cornish, Mark Twain St. Joseph's Hospital. I wanted to give you an update on some of the activities that's going on across the street. Like to do this about every 3 months or so, let you know what's going on. We are in contract negotiations and credentialing process for 5 more physicians to come to Calaveras County. We have an internal medicine physician, 2 family practice, including 1 female, a urologist, and a gastroenterologist. So we're real excited about having those coming on board. I think you should see the first one in about 90 days, and about 9 months after that, we should have all 5 of them on board. So we're real excited about that. Facility activities. Because of the economic downturn, we considered our family medical center in San Andreas to be a huge priority because of the increase in Medi-Cal enrollments. We should have our doors open on that new family medical center right on the hospital campus in June. So that's good news for our community. Digital mammography looks like it's going well. Tomorrow we should have the okay to move forward with that digital mammography project. It'll bring digital mammography to Calaveras County. The first system will be installed on the hospital campus right in the radiology department. The second one, which is about 1.5 years away, will probably be in Angels Camp. but we're doing well there too.
Can I negotiate that one?
You sure can, Marita.
Okay.
We'd like to have it as soon as possible. Our hospital foundation, by the way, has funded the entire digital mammography project, the 2 units, and the construction of the hospital. So that's a huge commitment by our hospital foundation of well over $1 billion. So that could help us to move more quickly to have digital mammography in the Angels Camp area. Some of the community activities that we're involved with, as you know, we continue to do free lunches for the jurors of Calaveras County, and I think that we see about 20 a week coming across the street for lunch at Carmen's. We had a Stuff the Van activity in February where we had a food drive, household supplies food drive to help fill the vacant shelves at the HRC food bank, and we actually did fill one of our courier vans full of food and household activities. We understand it was the largest single donation that the HRC has ever had, so that we're real proud about that. And this month we're doing a similar thing for feeding the animals. When we went to the HRC, they seem to have been running out of dog food and pet food and cat containers and everything else you can think of. And a lot of that is because, again, of the economic downturn. And so we're doing a food drive for the animals during the month of March. So if you have anything in your closet or in your pantry that you want to donate, you can donate those through each of our 4 family medical centers or at the hospital. And then we'll take it over to the HRC food bank and to the SPCA and the animal shelter during the month of April. We too attended a job fair at Calaveras High School yesterday, and we're glad that the flies were not in our area too. And we'll be doing it again in Bret Harte, and it was fun to see the kids and talk to them about careers in healthcare. And just for your information, there are over 70 different careers in healthcare right across the street at Mark Twain Hospital. They're not available right now, but there's that many careers in healthcare, ranging from cooking to nursing to radiology and science and just everything you can imagine. We once again hosted the American Cancer Society Daffodil Days Kickoff Luncheon. That was in February, and that's for the entire county. And the Daffodil Days, I think that the daffodils have all been bought now, and they should be coming to Calaveras County, I think, in a couple weeks. I'm not real sure of the date, but if you bought daffodils, you should be getting those soon. Let's see, and then this Saturday, we're doing a mini health fair down at Valley Springs at the Fusion Grill in conjunction with the Toya Middle School's Fun Run Walk. So we're anxious to be there. Our family medical center in Valley Springs is right across the street, so that staff will be at the Fusion Grill to do blood pressure checks and give out health care information as the runners or walkers go across the finish line or something like that.
Wouldn't it be better to do it before the race?
Well, they might not walk.
Okay.
You know, the blood pressure may be up. No, we want them to walk, and then we'll check it out. And finally, we wanted to invite all county employees, and the CHP, I think, has already been invited. We're having a benefit luncheon on Thursday to support the Montgomery family. Every single cent of revenue that comes in through donations will go directly to the family, and we're excited about that opportunity to be part of the community behind the families for that tragedy that occurred.
What is the cost and what is the time?
Yeah, the cost is how much you want to spend on it, Tom.
Okay.
There's no fee, but just you need to open up your wallets and do what your heart tells you. It'll be at Carmen's Restaurant between 12 and 1 o'clock, and we'll do it until the food runs out. It's a Mexican fiesta, Carmen's Restaurant. And I'm pretty much done, unless you have any questions of me.
You're forgetting your involvement in the Follies.
Oh, you had to bring that up, didn't you? Yes, I am in the follies, just like
Singing here.
Supervisor Topanelli and Supervisor Walensky. I think you're going to be in it.
There's a rumor to that.
Yeah. Hello, Dolly.
He's singing.
Thank you for bringing it up.
You're welcome, Larry. You're welcome.
Last week or the week before, the sheriff was standing there saying that he had made contact with the hospital about the renewal of the medical services for the existing jail, and then with the thought for going forward for the new jail too. So I just want to make sure that the parties are in fact talking. So
I will follow up on that. Do you know who he spoke with?
I don't know.
Okay. I'll follow up on that. And we had a conversation yesterday about that, and that's something that we really need to bring together. It just doesn't make sense to not have that agreement in place.
Okay.
So I'll follow up on that when I get back.
Please
with
do.
Feliciano.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, anyone else wishing to address the board on an item not on the agenda today?
I do have a call for something. This morning we heard a heartfelt expression of both grief and concern regarding Mountain Ranch Road projects. It kind of mixed a number of issues. There was the loss of life. There is a project that's intended to improve safety, and then there's the general condition of the road and areas that we don't have the funds yet to improve. I do see people in this audience that might shed some light on this, and I'm hoping they might step forward for purposes of clarifying the county's efforts to improve road safety. And I know this has been going on for some time. Not the least of our troubles is the state of California method of determining speed limits, and our effort to test on that road met a number of unfortunate circumstances, which included the actual cutting of the lines that we're testing. So we've had some issues up there, but I think it would be important for people to hear.
This is not my opportunity for public speaking. I'll come back. But I don't want to forget that little boy who was killed on Burson Road.
Right.
There's been a lot of mentions of others, and they were tragedies. I don't want to forget that little boy.
Thank you, Joe.
Good morning. Mike Miller, Public Works Director. Just as a brief background, there was a community meeting held in Mountain Ranch on June 21st, 2007, I believe, where Supervisor Member Walensky chaired the meeting. Public Works staff was in attendance. One of the things that came out in the meeting was the residents wanted the road posted. They wanted speed limit signs. The request was to post it at a speed slower than 55 miles an hour, and we weren't able to do that because the way the law is structured for speeds and enforcement. The department agreed to place 55-mile-an-hour signs on a number of sections of that roadway. Those were installed in early December 2007. We have two capital improvement projects on Mountain Ranch Road. They are for rural road high-risk projects. It's a special fund. One is a turnout area. That project was originally scheduled to go last year, and because of community input and because of community concerns, that was continued a number of times. We held a number of meetings. The last meeting was here, I believe, in July with the board. At that meeting, we heard a lot of the similar complaints that you heard today. We responded to those as well as we could at the time. What happened was a tragic accident, and I can't address the conditions or what happened that day. That would be up to the Highway Patrol. The projects that we have were two separate projects funded separately that we combined for purposes of efficiency and perhaps lower construction costs. One is a turnout uphill and downhill on a section of Mountain Ranch Road that has a lower accident area because it's the straightest section. It has the best horizontal and vertical curves, and we own right-of-way there, and we don't have to acquire right-of-way. and we didn't want to get into the situation of having to expend significant amount of money, which we did not receive in the grant, to acquire right-of-way. The second project is an advanced curve warning project that was in the lower area between Michael Road and Rocky Road. It's 2 solar-powered signs that alert you to curve warning advance. It's rumble strips on the center divide. It'll have 2 solar-powered advanced curve warnings and advisory speed LED message board signs, centerline rumble strips, and pavement reflectors along 1.1 miles of Mountain Ranch Road. Those projects are in design. They're completed. We will be constructing those this coming construction season, which starts this summer. I would like to also note that people talk about posting the speed limits lower. The California Vehicle Code section 22358.5 states that physical conditions such as width, curvature, grade, and surface conditions or any other condition readily apparent to a driver in the absence of other factors would not require special downward speed zoning. In this case, they take the 85th percentile to determine the speed of the 85% of the people using that particular section of a roadway. They established those speed limits, and in this case, those speeds were in excess of 55, but the law only allows you to post a maximum of 55. If it was posted for anything less than 55, the Highway Patrol, who has traffic enforcement authority in this county, would not be able to cite drivers. And that was discussed at both the community meetings originally when they were talking about posting signs below 55, and it was discussed in our public meeting. And I'll defer to the Highway Patrol for any more detail than that.
I do have one other issue that's come up, which has to do with the theories and the engineers' reports and the studies relating to turnout lanes. We have found in Mountain Ranch Road that we have drivers with varying demographics. We have some very senior drivers who tend to drive their way of safe, and we have a number of other drivers, some quite young, who are pushing the speed limit. The average, as you say, the 85th percentile in a good stretch of this road when tested showed that people were driving over 55. And the problem that indicates is first that people, when those test lines are open, are not understanding the point. If we really want to lower our speed limits, we're going to have to drive a little bit slower as an average. And maybe we need to be more tactical when we're being tested. But that said, the results of studies were that there was a 30+% improvement when you had a chance to sort out those various drivers, whether it was in the area of accident or not, that people who were pushing folks up the road could get around them safely, and where people who were nervous and worried about people pushing them could move over, that actually does help traffic safety. And I was hoping you might confirm that. That's the theory I heard, and I want to make sure that that's part of our operative thinking.
That is correct. And the other comment I would make is the Highway Patrol remarked last year when we discussed this project that having the turnouts facilitates their ability to immediately hang U-turns in a safe place and pursue speeders. And if you look at that section of roadway now, that is not always the case, and they have to find a spot to turn around. I would also remind you that the prima facie speed limits and the basic speed laws just simply state that no person shall drive a vehicle upon a highway at a speed greater than is reasonable or prudent, having due regard for weather, visibility, the traffic on and the surface, and the width of the highway, and in no event at a speed which endangers the safety of persons or property.
Mr. Miller, before you...
Michael, I'll come down later because I'm interested in the list for the stimulus program of roads.
Yes.
Because the 2 roads in my district that have, high volumes is number 1, Murphy's Grade Road, where we've also had a number of fatalities. And the second, with a lesser traffic count, but in my opinion, in dire needs of improvement, and with fatalities is French Gulch Road. So I think we have several roads in the county of which we have a very documented accident history. That in the Murphy's Grade Road is, basically a sheer wall on one side and a cliff to the creek on the other. And most of the time we hear from bicyclists who are complaining as opposed to drivers that are complaining. But I think in many ways the same principles apply to both those roads, and it would be nice if we're going to get stimulus money, et cetera, if we could do some safety improvements.
Yes, we have a list that we've developed, and we were working on finalizing it by today. The federal requirements...
I'll be right down as soon as the meeting...
The federal requirements for the stimulus package have some conditions that knock some of the roads out that we were interested in submitting. Tim was talking about the hundreds of millions of dollars that's available, and we have calculated, and so has the state of California. It looks like we could get as much as $2.3 million for projects in this county. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring a list to you of what we've submitted as our stimulus list. We will probably ask you to have a resolution passed to have our COG representatives take to the next meeting to make sure that the formula for allocation to the county and the other agency here that gets those types of funds remains unchanged for the stimulus fund. That will be to the greatest benefit of us.
Not a problem.
Make sure you give it to me.
Let me add one other thing that did come up this morning, which is actually it's almost ironic that many of the improvements over the years have been made to Mountain Ranch Road, that is the paving, keeping it level, keeping the potholes filled, has actually raised the level of the asphalt in relation to the ditches on the side. And we've had a number of times where people have caught wheels flipped, and I do believe that that's a valid concern for much of the length of Mountain Ranch Road and, by the way, the road up to Murphy's. So I'm wondering whether we've done much thinking about a specific project of that nature that could sort of bring the side of the road up to closer to the level of the road itself.
I would say that generally speaking, any road in this county that's collector or larger has shoulder drop-off issues, and the way we have addressed those is each year when we do our overlay program, we improve the drainage adjacent to the roads, and then we do a backfilling at the shoulder to bring it up to grade. To attack these on an individual basis countywide, we did an estimate last year to hire a company to come in, and we would provide the trucks and the labor and the materials, and they would provide the machinery to put this down. The machine was renting for about $10,000 a day. Then we pursued the idea of purchasing our own machine and having a maintenance program. In addition to our overlay, we do not have the staff. Once we start paving in the summer, which would be the time that we would do shoulder backing also, we don't have the staff to do this. We looked at a machine, it's $130,000, and frankly, in view of our economic situation, that's equivalent to about 2.5 more positions in our department that we would probably be forced to give up to buy it. But we do address them when we overlay, and if you look at the roads that we've overlaid in the last 2 or 3 years, you'll see that we raise the shoulder back. And this is not an issue just here. It's an issue that contributes to a lot of accidents because a right wheel drifts off a shoulder, you get locked into it, you pull hard to get back left, and you go across the other side. I've done it a few times, but I haven't had an accident. But I know what you're saying. Highway 49 has the same issues. Mountain Ranch Road right out here at the turn below the library, same issue. It's like getting into a rut. Thank you.
Mr. Miller, before you go, at a number of times Cynthia was making a plea to, please don't spend the money on these turnout lanes, spend it on improving the conditions at the curves. I would just like to, you said it before back in July when we had the session, that that's not possible. I mean, the money has to be spent where we requested the allocation. Isn't that
That's correct. And we stated this early on to you. We told you that if we had the funds available, we would do all of Mountain Ranch Road, straighten it out and everything. We don't have that. What we have is we're given specific criteria for applying for rural road grants. They try to narrow it so you don't have to do right-of-way acquisition and most of your benefit can go into the road. Where we selected was the most appropriate place to start making more improvements. The area west of where this project is a series of slight curves that go back and forth from, I'm going to say, just around Lower Michael Road down beyond Rocky Road. To straighten out that section of the road truly is going to be millions and millions of dollars. And if that money were available and it didn't have the criteria that usually comes with these grants, we would pursue those types of things. But the whole length of Mountain Ranch Road, I think we all acknowledged, even in the community meetings and here last year, there are improvements that could continue to be made. We will apply for funds, and when they become available, we'll make those improvements.
Under the California driving, the methodology for determining the speed limits, would it be possible in the interim, it seems like it will be a while before we get to that Michael Road to Rocky area to do a serious road treatment, but is there a possibility testing the speeds along there and getting a lower posting for that stretch?
We can do our survey again. I don't have the most recent one with me. I know in 2007 they did one for the community meeting in Mountain Ranch. I think there was right in that area, it was 58 to 61 depending on if you were westbound or eastbound, and just a little further west I think it was 61 to 74.
Yes, I do remember this. I'm betting, however, that we would be better organized to respond to this next test.
Those curves are posted with what they call W1s and W2s, where they're yellow signs. They're advanced curve warning signs, either with an arrow or a yellow placard that has a speed limit suggested. But I would defer to the California Highway Patrol again. If the 85th percentile through that series of slight turns stands after a survey, that's what it would have to be enforced at.
Well, I would request that we retest, if possible, at your earliest convenience.
We can do that.
I would submit that people might be driving more slowly after what has just occurred. So, okay. Do we have any other questions of Mr. Miller?
No, but
Okay.
I would also ask whether the CHP has anything that might be added to this morning's dialogue.
I'm Tim Port, the Lieutenant Commander of the San Andreas Highway Patrol. And I would just like to touch upon a couple of items mentioned by Mr. Miller, and he's exactly right when he talks about the reduction of speed zones and the requirements in the protocol for conducting an engineering and a traffic survey in order to establish the 85th percentile speed in that area. If an arbitrary speed limit is posted, which is less than that 85th percentile, it is unenforceable by the California Highway Patrol. That is one aspect. And as mentioned from the early morning discussion that came about, perhaps it's incumbent upon the citizens in the community to drive at a slower speed on Mountain Ranch Road, such as 100% that I heard that want the speed limit reduced. The proof is in the driving behavior, not just in the discussions afterwards. And if that's the case, the 85th percentile would reflect that driving behavior, and that's some action that could be taken. In absence of that, as mentioned, 22358.5 of the Vehicle Code for reducing the speed limits. That's the state legislature has determined, as mentioned by Mr. Miller, that the intent of the legislature is that the physical conditions of the roadway, the width from the curve and the grade, is not a reason to post reduced speed limit sign, but rather 22350 of the Vehicle Code, safe speed for conditions that you should not drive at a speed that is neither reasonable nor prudent based upon traffic and weather, applies. So what it really comes down to in that point is that there is a certain sense of personal responsibility and accountability for conditions of the road and the weather, that no one will drive at a speed that is not prudent and safe. And that's basically the current position right now.
I know that the most recent accident is still under review and investigation, but there have been 20-some accidents over the last 14 to 15 months on that road. And it seems to me that I reviewed the previous year accidents, and most of them seem to involve one of a number of circumstances. Bald tires in a couple of circumstances, drunk or driving under the influence in several, driving across the center lane was another cause, I think, for a couple without the connection to being under the influence. Do you have any sense of how many of the accidents are not attributable to driver error, but might be more the condition of the road or the drop-off?
Well, the condition of the road, once again, is an inanimate object that sits still. It's incumbent upon the driver to drive at a safe and reasonable speed. And yes, throughout the curves and the tight portions of Mountain Ranch Road specifically, 55 miles per hour is excessive for those areas. But the length of the roadway as a whole is 55, and that's why they have the yellow and black advisory signs that warn of upcoming curves, and they have a reduced advisory speed limit. And once again, the maximum speed limit posted for 55 miles per hour is based upon clear, sunny, dry, high visibility conditions, optimal conditions, if you will, not when it's raining and not when the roadway is slippery with slush or ice or water.
Any other questions?
Jim, if you had to assign responsibility for this particular accident, how much would you assign to basically sort of an inadequate road, and how much would you assign to, say, driver's error, and how much would you assign to the vehicle itself not being in a proper sort of condition to be on the road?
An inspection, a limited inspection of the vehicle, of both vehicles following the collision. And I say limited because we basically were looking at steering and brakes and tires. Tires on the vehicle operated by Ms. Montgomery did have legal tread depth,
Did have what?
It did have legal tread depth.
Okay.
They did not have bald tires. That wasn't an issue with the vehicle. As far as the condition of the road, numerous citizens had traversed the road at that time without becoming involved in an accident. So I believe you're going to have to come to the conclusion that it was driver error for one reason or another, perhaps distraction, perhaps look down, excessive steering input, whatever caused the driver, Ms. Montgomery, to lose control of her vehicle and cross over the center line into the opposing lane of traffic. There's no indication of high excessive speed in the collision on her part. And hopefully that answers your question.
Yes.
Okay.
Tim, how do you spell your last name?
My name is Port, P-O-R-T.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of Lieutenant Port?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted.
Okay, anyone else wishing to address the board on an item not on the agenda? Oh, Darrell.
I promise not to go 29 minutes.
Okay, I'll hold you to it.
And that's not to disparage the speaker.
I know.
Sometimes there are problems with communications. I know I have them. Recently, I bought almost 100 pounds of wild bird seed. And for whatever reason, I was not able to grow any birds. I did, however, find that it provided cat food. Miscommunications. Along that line, there are a number of agencies that have what I would refer to as crossover issues between the county and its agencies and out-of-county or other non-county related. The Water District, Caltrans, and I'm sure many, many, many others. And I know that you are all involved with those. But I'm wondering if there is any one in the county who is assigned as a liaison, so to speak, not a spokesperson, but a liaison simply to track the agenda of the various agencies. When something comes up on an agenda for CCWD, for instance, it would be nice to have a heads up early on that there's an item there that may be an issue of crossover interest to the Board of Supervisors. And I'm just wondering if there's anyone in the county to do that. If not, it might be worth some thought to consider. And it would be a person simply as a tracker, so to speak. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rusk. Okay, anyone else wish to address the board? Okay, we have concluded public comments now. I'd like to move to item number 5, please. This is a discussion, possible action regarding a resolution adopting the addendum to professional service agreement for operation and maintenance of Calaveras Transit Public Works here. Hi, Jamie.
Good morning. Jamie Azerban, Department of Public Works. In 2007, the county entered into a contract, a 4-year contract, with MB Transportation for the operation and maintenance of the Calaveras Transit System. The contract identifies specific wage scales for both the driver positions and the maintenance supervisor position. Both wage scales have increased since the previous contract with MB Transportation. With the procurement of the 5 new international buses we recently purchased last year, the skill set required of the maintenance supervisor has dramatically changed. The position now requires advanced computer skills as well as knowledge of the computerized diagnostic equipment specific to those international vehicles, and with the ability to maintain a diverse fleet with 3 different vehicle types. In an effort to update the maintenance supervisor wage scale to reflect the level of expertise required for the position without affecting system performance or increasing costs to the county, Public Works and MB Transportation have discussed numerous potential contract adjustments that would allow adequate compensation for the maintenance supervisor position. One of the adjustments discussed was the reduction of training and starting wages for the drivers that are hired after board approval of the addendum. This would not affect current employees, it would only affect new hires. And again, this is just for the starting and training wages. After a 1-year probationary period, the drivers would then go up and catch up to our existing driver wage scale. One of the concerns brought up during our discussions was how this would affect employee retention. Compared to the previous contract with the lower rates, retention is actually going down rather than up. So based on the decreased retention rate, the opportunity for drivers to catch up with that existing wage scale after a 1-year probation period, and the increased demands on the maintenance supervisor skill set, Public Works is recommending that the board adopt the addendum to the professional services agreement, amending both of those wage scales. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
I don't have a problem with this. I'm just curious why it even has to come to us, because it's net zero cost. I know we signed an agreement with MV Transportation, and
it was my understanding, based on discussions I had with Mr. Atherstone, my predecessor, that the wage scales were an important topic when we were issuing or signing into the new agreement. So I just, not knowing the history there, I thought it would be prudent for me to come to you guys and the board.
Any other questions of Jamie?
Let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have any comments from the public on this item?
I'll move the item, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this item. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the item passes on a 5-0. Okay, we have previously dispensed with item number 6, postponing that for 4 weeks. At this time, we have board matters and followed by a closed session. So in review of correspondence, reports, and various matters of concern, do we...
I'll be attending LAFCO next Monday.
Okay. Is that the extent of your report?
That completes my comments.
Okay, Supervisor Walensky.
I unfortunately left my calendar in the truck this morning, so I'm going to have to do this out of memory. On Thursday, there's we have the Sierra Nevada Conservancy and a number of state agencies coming to talk about forest treatments and gaining some funding for that, along with Fire Safe Council and a number of fire departments. Friday, I have a mental health job club meeting, and in the morning and in the afternoon, the Farm to Family work with Calaveras High School, which just dedicated its greenhouse to the effort, and we'll be planting that out during the afternoon with a number of the school clubs and behavioral health crew as well. And I will be attending the memorial on Friday evening for the families.
Okay, the meeting that you mentioned about the Sierra Nevada Conservancy discussions, where will that take place?
That's in West Point at the American Legion Hall.
Okay, and there's a time?
Yes, starts at 9:30.
Okay. Is that it?
That's all I can remember.
Supervisor Toffanelli.
I have just one item that I'm going to attend pertaining to my supervisorial duties. That is, I will be attending the Valley Springs Stakeholders Meeting on Thursday evening at the Methodist Church at 6 o'clock. Has to do with what Tim McSorley brought up, the meeting for that grant for the Valley Springs area and their general plan, not their general plan, but their community plan. And I will be at the Friends of the Library melodrama on Friday and Saturday.
Doing what?
Attempting to sing. I also will be that Saturday morning, the 14th, attending the Relay for Life at the Terrace there in Valley Springs. I'm kind of sponsoring that event there. It's a walk and run event. It's their first annual. And that's it.
Supervisor Callaway.
Tomorrow night I'll be at a public meeting that the U.S. Forest Service is putting on regarding the off-road vehicle program. It's our third public meeting we've had in Arnold. It's Stanislaus Recreation Program. It's on their draft environmental impact statement. Part of it had to do with law enforcement. I did send that to the sheriff's office to comment on. The California State Association of Counties Executive Committee, we had a conference call yesterday on the propositions. I believe I sent all of you the packet from CSAC. We took a neutral position on propositions 1A through 1F, and as you know, this was very intricately tied to the budget being passed. So that's why, in essence, we took a neutral position, though there was something in all of this for us to individually, representing associations, to love and to hate. I did talk with Jeannie Boyce about it because it impacted her area. I talked with Karen. See, how's Karen pronounce her last name again? Pekarsik about that area, her area also, and to John Brophy on the Proposition 98 funding for the schools. Consistently, it's if we don't do it, we don't know what we're going to wind up with, because it'll, again, impact significantly the budget negotiations. So the CSAC Executive Committee said that we have a board meeting on the 19th, and if there's changes, we might make a different position. So again, your thoughts are still welcome, but I hope you read the packet that I sent you. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I will also be attending that Valley Springs stakeholders meeting along with Supervisor Toffanelli. I want to clarify that although Valley Springs proper is not in my supervisorial district, they have put me on the stakeholders committee because of the fact that the Rancho Calaveras citizens very much consider themselves to be Valley Springs residents. So, and I also want to mention with some pride that I'm going to be singing again on Friday and Saturday night, along with Supervisor Toffanelli, who is doing a fantastic job. I have been a participant in the melodrama for a number of years, and the house has never been packed with a standing room only crowd like it was last Saturday night. And the only thing that I can attribute that to is Supervisor Toffanelli. I mean, it's the first time he's been there, and it just packed the house. It was really quite remarkable.
It'll be the next one that really counts. We'll find out just what the reaction was.
No, the audience has gone away with a very, very broad smile on their face after these performances. So anyway, that concludes my comments. Other than that, I will also be going to LAFCO next Monday, the 16th. And I would encourage anybody to, if they are available tomorrow at lunch, to go to that benefit luncheon that Mr. Cornish mentioned at Carmen's Restaurant across the street.
Thursday.
That's Thursday, yeah. I'm sorry, I said tomorrow. So that concludes my comments. Mr. CAO, do you have any?
Nothing today, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Jones?
I'm collecting a basket of old tomatoes, and I'm looking forward to the follies on Saturday night.
Not the follies.
Some eggs, too.
The melodrama.
The melodrama.
Oh, melodrama, sorry.
Okay.
You've been over to Metzger's house, haven't you?
Okay, well, be sure to sit toward the back so you can lob them sufficiently. Madeline, do you have anything?
I have one additional comment. I wasn't going to say anything, but since you brought up the melodrama and me singing in it, actually I brought it up, but you continued it. We had a little competition yesterday at this job fair about business cards, where I'd set my business cards out there, and Supervisor Thomas had set his out there. And Steve had a very limited number of cards, so he was handing them out. But the competition, I actually won hands down on the number of cards taken by students. So,
These were people passing through doing an obligatory nod to us as they went to the bug display, so it wasn't that big a victory.
undisputed.
It is undisputed.
Yeah. It was embarrassingly bad on my part, but anyway, that concludes our regular agenda. We will be going into a closed session as previously announced about the anticipated litigation. Thank you very much for attending this morning.
Madeline.